All right, thank you. So let's go ahead and get started, because I'm the person who's sitting between you and lunch, so I don't want to take too much time as well. So a little bit about me. My name is Khalef. I'm an engineering manager at Microsoft. Over there, I have the privilege of leading a team of engineers that work on React Native for Windows, React Native for macOS, several of our open source initiatives, and the integration of React Native itself into our Office applications. We also support the company as a whole in integrating React Native into various other applications beside Office. And we work closely with Meta, Callstack, and others in trying to improve the overall ecosystem where we can. I've been in this role for the last 5 years, and today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how we've been using React Native within the company, and how you can leverage React Native for desktop yourself. So the first thing I want to call out is that Microsoft is fully committed to React Native. We've been working on this platform for a few years, and we have seen several benefits that it brings both to our developers and to our customers in the quality of the features that we've been able to stand up. We are building features that are reaching several hundreds of millions of users on a monthly basis. I will show you a few demos of this later. And several of the features that we build are mission critical. Like they could be things that are really important for us to make money, or like the size of the user base that we're targeting is very large, or even like features where the impact of it going down or not working correctly would be massive. So we take huge bets on React Native across the company. And in order for us to build such features, we have a great set of engineers who are working hard on the React Native platform itself. They have passion for solving hard problems, for working in open source, for contributing to the community, and for building world-class experiences. We were lucky that over time we built pretty deep expertise across the full stack, and that helps us build the out-of-tree platforms that we own as well. This ranges from understanding the JavaScript engine, GSI, how debugging works, the layout engine, the bridge, Fabric, instance management, the core UI components, etc. Just a lot of things that we've put together. That helps us build the platform. It also helps us build our applications in a very performant manner. And at this point, I would say, like almost every major application at Microsoft is using React Native in some way. If I were to put it differently, if you're using a recent Windows device, chances are you are actually running React Native directly within the operating system. If you downloaded one of our major applications, there's also a high chance that you are actually using React Native here as well. So it's just everywhere within our applications today. And the types of experiences that we're trying to build span a very large range. They include authoring experiences, communication, account management, accessibility, just the operating systems, the desktop, productivity, gaming, and even AI. I will walk you through a few of those just to give you a sense of what we're trying to build. And in the process, also help you build your own confidence about the quality of that platform. And I think that's important because there was a talk yesterday as well where people were talking about, like, is React Native viable? Is it the best technology? For us, in a variety of cases, the answer was a unanimous yes. And hopefully you get to see that in some of these experiences that I'm going to be showing. So the first one is about collaboration. So this is Microsoft Word, and if you look to the right side, there's a pane that I just highlighted right now, and it's what we call our commenting experience. The card that you see on the right is built using React Native. This is where you can enter comments related to content in a document that you're building, and people can collaborate and communicate in that pane itself. And a common theme of the experience that you're going to see that we're building is that they are brownfield, meaning that we have native applications, but we leverage the power of React Native in order to build small islands within those native applications. We also have greenfield applications that we run at Microsoft, but primarily I would say we're mostly brownfield, just from the perspective of already having existing applications. Another example is just like in the case of communication scenarios. And here you can see what we call our persona cards. So this is an experience that we have in several of our applications and that we also build on multiple platforms. So they give you information around your contacts, you know, the email, phone numbers, addresses, org charts, things like that. And one thing to note here is that we run this on multiple platforms, but we get the look and feel of the platform thanks to how React Native uses the native rendering stack on those specific platforms. We can easily apply visual cues that are specific to those platforms. For example, you know, the mobile experiences that you see on the right side, they have back buttons. The desktop versions have expanders to make the cards bigger. We have rounded corners in some cases. We have square corners in other cases. We have platform-specific fonts. We have different types of visuals. Submenus look different. Hyperlinks look different depending on the platform that we're targeting. And this is an experience that you can imagine is incredibly important for us because when we're building productivity applications, we need people to be able to communicate. If this doesn't work, we have a pretty big problem. Another example is Windows 11 itself. And one of the most important pieces of UI that we have there is the Start menu. So if you look at this UI that's on screen, it's actually pretty hard to tell that there are parts of it that is actually built using React Native and other parts that are built in native. And I will highlight the parts that are actually React Native. So if you look especially on the left side, the top half is just native UI that we've built. The bottom half is React Native, and then that expands into that section that is on the right. And what it is it's your recommended files and applications that you can open. That is a major entry point for us within Windows. So I don't know exactly, you know, like how many devices are using Windows 11 today. I searched online earlier, and I saw there were like about around 1.4 billion devices that are using both Windows 10 and Windows 11. So whatever the breakdown is between these two, these are experiences that are going to a large number of people. And I'll also mention that this is one of the experiences that we've built into the actual operating system. There are many more that already exist and more that are coming. I just don't have time to go through them today. But we've been able to achieve like really high performance with those such that we were able to ship them directly within the OS. So let's look at 3 more examples. And one of them is around accessibility. So we're back to Microsoft Office here. There's a document that I've authored. And what I want to do is I want to check whether it has accessibility issues. So this is actually something really important because when you're authoring your document, you want to make sure that the content that you have is actually consumable by as many people as possible, including people who may have disabilities. And in case you didn't know, I think the estimate is that there's more than 1 billion people who have a form of disability. So it's a very, very large portion of the world population. These can include vision, hearing, mobility, speech, neurodiversity, and other types of impairments. They can be permanent or they can be situational. So an example is, you know, you had an accident, you temporarily cannot use your arm, you have a temporary form of disability. And they can occur at any age as well. So this feature is actually essential for us to ensure that content that people create reaches as large of an audience as possible. And so I'll play the video, and what you can see is on the right we're going to show a pane, and that pane is an accessibility assistant that is built using React Native. What it does is it's flagging a couple of violations around contrast not being, around low contrast between colors that some people may not be able to differentiate, around the structure of the document not having a proper semantic structure, or around the alt text that is associated with that image not being accurate, such that someone who is blind and is relying on a screen reader may not be able to infer exactly what's going on. And you can see how that UI just integrates seamlessly with the rest of the application. and gives us this beautiful experience that just feels like it's actually native within that application. Let's look at a couple more. This is one around gaming, and this is our Xbox application. So it is fully built using React Native, and here you can see just like really beautiful UI that we were able to stand up for this app. And this is another critical application because this is where people can see a catalog of games where they can buy them, which means that's where we make money. So we want a very, very, very good experience. By the way, when I recorded this, Starfield was not yet out. It's actually out now. I haven't played it, but I heard it's great, so I'm going to try it when I go back to Seattle. But you can see the UI is very snappy. It's very high quality, and we use it again in those types of scenarios. And let me show you one last one, since it's a big buzz these days, and it's just AI. So as you've probably heard, there's a lot of companies that are trying to figure out how to leverage LLMs, large language models, in order to build better experiences within the application. So for us, one of the things that we have is what we call a copilot. We've built this into first on our web apps and then later into our desktop applications. And what it does is it helps you author your document with richer content that is coming from AI models. You may not have seen this experience before because we've only released this to a very few key customers who are actually trying it out. But this is something that our team has been working on for the last few months. So what it is when you click on it, you see a pane that again has been created using React Native, and you can type a prompt, tell me more about React Native. We're going to hit our AI servers, and we will get data back that we're actually going to start populating into your document. This is a port of an experience that we built on the web that we needed to migrate very quickly to the desktop platform. And so by leveraging the power of React Native, we were able to achieve that. A large portion of the code that we used on web was reused for this experience, but at the same time, we were able to build that experience in such a way that it is snappy and again feels very natural to the application. We have that running. I showed you the demo here on Mac, but we also have the same thing running on Windows as well. So those demos, the point I wanted to make was that we're using React Native for key experiences at Microsoft. And we've seen a lot of benefits in doing it, both like from the perspective of the feedback that we're getting from our developers, which is actually pretty big at this point. By the way, like our internal community of developers for using React Native is more than 1,000 people, so a very large adoption happening. So how do we enable such experiences? What we do is we invest in technologies that allow us to use React Native at scale. So first, the React Native for desktop platforms itself, which includes both macOS and Windows. And then we invest in the React Native test app and in RNX Kit. So if you attended the presentation from Lorenzo and Tommy yesterday, you've already heard about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time there. We have our own component libraries, which we call Fluent UI React Native. We have a few other things that we build that just allow us to build those really, really good experiences. We participate actively in the open source community. We help with releases. As you probably heard yesterday, we work closely with Meta, with Callstack, with several other companies. We actively look for ways where we can we can just improve the development of React Native. We have a blog that we maintain where we have copies of the talks that we've been giving, as well as articles related to what we've been doing in React Native. So I want to talk a little bit about the desktop platforms. I didn't do a getting started demo here because it's fairly easy to try for yourself just following the instructions. But one of the important things for us is just keeping up with releases. We want to try to be as close, we want our releases to be as close as possible to the mobile releases so that when you're either upgrading an application that you have or you're setting up a new application from scratch, you can always use the latest and greatest even on desktop. And we've made really good progress here. When we released React Native for Windows 0.7 2 days after the mobile versions were released, and macOS we actually released earlier today. So now both platforms are available, and moving forward, we're going to try to just stay in sync as much as possible, so all of those release together. And 72 is obviously something we're very excited about. There's a lot of new features and new developer improvements developer experience improvements that come along with it. Another big investment for us has been around Hermes. Obviously, you all are familiar with Hermes and all the benefits that it brings. It's fully supported on macOS. We've had it in an experimental fashion in Windows for some time now. We're just about ready to have it be production level. Probably it'll just take a few days for us to actually push the last changes so that you can actually use Hermes in your production applications, even on Windows. We have some experiences actually ourselves where we've already started doing that, but we're going to make it official pretty soon. So this is another pretty exciting investment from our side. We're looking forward to seeing the performance improvements that's going to bring to our React Native applications on desktop, as well as being able to leverage the developer experience improvements that will be coming to Hermes that Meta talked about yesterday. And then new architecture. So this is another big area. It's currently in experimental stage on both macOS and Windows. So lots of work that still needs to be done. So, like if you're an early adopter and you want to try it out, by all means, please do. But we do not recommend that you ship anything on it at this point. I do want to give a huge shout out to Meta here, who has done a lot of work to actually help us enable Fabric on macOS. And on Windows, we were also working towards migrating all of our components to Fabric. Also here, like early adopter, you can test it if you want to, just not ready for prime time yet. One thing that's very exciting for us when we're doing this Fabric implementation for Windows is that we're actually rewriting the whole UI stack. The older version was built on top of our XAML controls, but we're actually dropping down one layer below to our lower level composition layer, which will actually give us more capabilities and bring further performance improvements that we're pretty excited about. We're not quite ready to talk about it yet, but in upcoming conferences, you're going to hear more details from us about it. And these are like three key areas that we've been investing in. But besides those things, there are several other aspects that we actually think about as we're building those platforms. Accessibility is really important. I mentioned that earlier. You want to be able to build React Native experiences that are accessible and that are usable by everyone. Performance, reliability, security, privacy. We want a really good debugging experience. Native look and feel is super important, as well as just ongoing support for the versions of the desktop platforms that are currently in market. And many more things like that. So all of that basically gives you a world-class React Native for desktop platform that you can use to ship your applications. And as I was trying to get to earlier, it's proven in many applications that are released, both by Microsoft as well as other companies. Your existing skills are transferable. If you know how to write a React Native application on mobile, you're already a long way towards writing a React Native application on desktop. That allows you to reach a much larger addressable market for your features. So by all means, please try it out and let us know what you think. And speaking of, actually, Expo Orbit was released last month, and it was built on top of React Native macOS. So that if you don't know what that is, it's a menu bar app that you can use to launch builds and run Snack projects on your devices and emulators. We had pretty good feedback from the Expo team around their usage of React Native for macOS in that case, and we're suspecting they will have a similar type of experience as they're bringing this to Windows as well. So yeah. So if you want to build your own applications, how do you get started? So first place is to use our guides. They're fairly easy to find online. We have a Getting Started guide for Windows. We have a Getting Started guide for macOS. We're also pretty active on our Twitter channel and on GitHub, so you can reach out to us there if you have any questions. The guides will look very familiar to what you're used to. You set up your environment, you create your project, and then you just type a couple of commands, and you're good to go. You have a Hello World experience that you can start playing with. But the instructions are pretty detailed, and you should be able to get used to it pretty quickly. And if you want to learn more about React Native for Windows, I would recommend that you check out some of our talks that we've done before. In particular, at Chain React 2023, Chiara and Shivan gave a really good talk titled Building for Microsoft, Stories from React Native Windows Maintainers. They go into a lot of details around how we actually built React Native for Windows itself. There's a pretty good section, especially around accessibility, where we talk about how we've actually stood that up in the platform. For macOS, Sad from my team has actually done a really cool presentation just recently at app.js. This one actually has a live demo of getting started on macOS and how to create your first application. So check it out. Like it's a great way to get started. And then if you want to learn about RNXKit and React Native Desktop, well, Lorenzo and Tommy did the talk, but it was yesterday. So hopefully you watched it. If not, when the videos come out, please do. RNXKit has a bunch of really great tools. You've probably heard about Align Deps already, but there's a lot more than that. Align Deps helps you with your dependency management, and this place is also where we are trying to implement the web APIs that you've heard a few times to help build that alignment between web and React Native, which is really, really, really important for us. So in summary, we're deeply committed to React Native. We're using it in a variety of scenarios where the experiences that we're running are targeting millions, hundreds of millions of users, of millions of unique users, billions of views every month, and we're seeing very, very, very high quality in those experiences. Frankly, we can't wait to see what you build yourself using our tools and that we release to open source, as well as the React Native for desktop platforms. So I would certainly encourage you to actually try it out. Come talk to us. There are 4 of us who are around. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer those. Otherwise, again, you can reach out to us through the links that I sent earlier. We'll be happy to help you get started and answer any questions that you have. And I hope that with this talk, I can also convince you that this platform, React Native in general, is actually ready for prime time, and is a great, great, great platform for building your own experiences. So with that, thank you for listening to this. Again, my name is Khalef. I'm in the office organization, and yeah, feel free to connect to us if you have any questions, and we're happy to answer those.